The Congress of South African Trade Unions says President Cyril Ramaphosa should use the January 8th statement to help mend factions within the party. Factional battles within the ANC have also been playing out in the media, indicating bitter tensions within the party. Cosatu's Matthew Parks says Ramaphosa is faced with the mammoth task of ensuring that the ANC is united and renewed. Parks joins us now for more. Mr. Parks, thank you very much for your time. Now, can you tell us... Cosatu says that this is an opportunity for President Ramaphosa to mend the party's factions. Do you think that's possible within one statement, given the history of these factions playing out within the party and obviously their impact on broader party structures and also tripartite alliance relationships?
Yeah. No, thanks for having us. So, look, obviously it wouldn't be possible to do everything in one single statement. The statement is literally just a speech. Couple of pages with some words on it, but it will symbolize a signal of intent, of commitment by the president, by his collective, the National Executive Committee, to do what South Africans, what ANC members, what workers and Cosatu members, the public at large, expect them to do. And whether one supports the ANC or not doesn't really make a difference, because the ANC is the ruling party. It is the leading political organization in the country. So society at large needs to see an ANC which is united, where the president is able to, with his team, to dismantle the factions, where the ANC can become coherent again in a centre policy and a progressive policy discourse. We need to see an ANC which is working together in order that we can deal with the issues in the alliance, to make sure the alliance is able to address the grievances, the divided alliance between the ANC and Cosatu and the South African Communist Party. And of course, we need to see a coherent ANC and a coherent alliance, which can make sure the government itself focuses on what it needs to do, that it deals with issues of corruption, of rebuilding broken state-owned enterprises, of ensuring we end load shedding so the economy is able to grow. That we have a government which is focused on rebuilding transit and metro rail so that our manufacturing, our mining, our agricultural sectors can focus on productivity and so forth. And of course, if government can deal with the issue of corruption under a coherent ANC, it can have more money to stimulate the economy, it can do the intervention necessary to unlock growth, it can provide more support to the unemployed, to the poverty stricken and so forth. And to be honest with you, we don't have much time. We're having elections in about 40 months' time, roughly around April next year. So society is looking to the president in a speech on Sunday to say, what exactly is government and the ANC planning to do to turn the ship around? Voters will be watching, will be judging them in a year's time. So really it's up to the president, it's up to his team and the cabinet, the NEC, to get things moving, because they don't have the luxury of time anymore. Society has given them a second chance in the last elections. The president will be asking for a second term in a year's time. He just won a second term as the ANC president. So he's got all the political space. He now needs to use that political capital and begin to deliver for the very mandate which he was elected upon.
And of course, that delivery is absolutely crucial. One cannot discount the power of a statement on such an important commemorative occasion. But when lip service is all it is, surely it must be demoralizing. How many times have we heard the ANC committing itself year on year to the very issues that you've listed, and how little delivery we've seen? How do you feel about these issues that are at the heart of what your members want not being forthcoming?
Sure. So look, to be fair to the ANC, I mean, post-1994, I think we all recognize there's been many positive changes. Not just the issue of the democratic breakthrough, or progressive laws, progressive labor laws, the dismantling of the party legacy and so forth. But you can also point to more recent positive achievements, like the free tertiary education for working class families, the rolling out of the 64 billion rand from the Unemployment Insurance Fund during the COVID-19 lockdown, the introduction of the Special Relief Dispensation Grant, which has reached about 10 million unemployed persons. So those are positive things, but not enough. Not enough when you consider that we have a 43% unemployment rate. We have huge levels of poverty and inequality. We've got serious levels of corruption, of load shedding, of cable theft, etc. So the government has got positive things it can claim, but it's not enough. And society is not going to simply judge you upon your past victories. They're going to look at you. What have you done yesterday? What are you doing today? What are you doing tomorrow? And there are many own goals that have been committed under the previous ANC leadership over the past decade, including the issue of state capture. So I think, to be fair to the president, he's done well on many fronts in pushing the issue of renewal, the step aside of the ANC, where you had a former Secretary General of the ANC, many former ministers, other compromised persons who were charged before the courts being forced to step down. That's a positive thing. We now need to see prosecutions, convictions, sentencing, and so forth. But again, we saw those positive kind of, commitments which were being actioned, but then it was quite worrying how we see that some people who have been actually convicted and sentenced being elected to the National Executive Committee of the ANC. That's a worrying thing. So the president will need to speak to that. He will need to say, beyond platitudes, what is the plan around electricity, around cable theft, around unemployment, around relief to the poor? What is the plan around dysfunctional municipalities, which have literally disintegrated for the past few years across the country at a huge cost to the economy? So I think society wants to see the president succeed. I think most people support the president and want to see the ANC succeed. But the patience is not unlimited, and it's a very short leash. That's correct. That's how it should be in a democracy. It's up now to the president to fill the gaps where they might exist in cabinet, to really crack the whip around errant politicians at national, provincial, local level, and really to begin to populate the state with competent people and not just incompetent, useless, or corrupt politicians or officials that you might find from time to time.
Mr. Parks, I'm glad you used the phrase crack the whip because it's quite relevant. There are so many structures that are there, both organisational and societal government structures, to hold the ANC to account. But its tripartite alliance partners also have that responsibility towards their members to hold the ANC to account. What kind of pressure are you looking at exerting on the ANC into this next year, as you rightly said, lead up to the 2024 general elections, to make sure that this party still has a mandate going forward?
Yeah. So look, our mandate as Cosatu, as a federation of trade unions, always comes from our members, our workers, their families at large, be it members of the police union or members of the clothing workers union or domestic workers or farm workers or public servants. And yes, we analyze the ANC. We want to see the ANC succeed. We support it, but we're independent. So when the ANC makes mistakes, we won't hesitate to show it privately as a matter of courtesy. When that fails, we'll also raise it publicly as well. Because at the end of the day, we expect better from our very own Commons. We expect the most from them. And when they make blunders, we'll have to point it out. And so we have done it consistently at all levels, from the alliance to bilaterals to NEDLAC to Parliament to even media platforms. You would have seen over the first week of this year, we've been raising issues with which we think are very worrying. In the Unemployment Insurance Fund, where 5 billion rand was being earmarked for somebody who we felt did not warrant it, to put it in the most polite of terms. We raised those quietly with the ministers, but also raise it publicly. We have raised with the president. We think there's a need, in fact, to put the UIF under administration. We think there's a need to crack down on corruption in cabinet and provincial governments and local governments as well. So when government does well, when the ANC does well, we will not hesitant to praise it, to say it's done well, for example, on the social relief distress grant, but to also say, well, we think we actually need to do better now, increase it to the food poverty line, make it a permanent feature of a social security system. So it is a mixed bag. And to be honest with you, we'll do that with any political party, because that's how it must work in a democracy. There are contradictions at times, because the ANC in some instances is in effect an employer at national, provincial, or local government. But we have also seen with our unions, they've not been hesitant at times to say, look, we have to defend our members' interests, whether it's the issue of retrenchments and SOEs, or the issues of public servants not getting an increase in 2020, or municipal workers being sent home without being paid. So we'll raise the issues, and we'll raise it frankly constructively. But at the end of the day, we are a trade union federation. We're not a political party or a government. We expect our colleagues in the ANC to carry forth what workers hope that they will resolve. And we've also said quite bluntly and honestly, publicly and privately, that if they don't resolve workers' issues, it'll be very difficult for us to convince those workers to go and vote for the ANC, as we saw in the 2021 local elections. We do have a lot to invest in the ANC to see it succeed, because it is the political party which is most biased towards workers. There's a long track record of delivering many good things to workers, including on labor rights, but doesn't mean that we can accept those positive things and at the same time keep quiet when it does wrong things, from retrenchments to abusing workers, etc. So politics is always a contested terrain. It's a class struggle, so to speak, and we have to play our role as Cosatu. And in fact, also, since our Congress last year in September, we've actually said, let's focus a little bit more on our trade unions, make sure they are strong, they are well-oiled machineries, that they are attentive to workers' needs, that they make sure they go and recruit those workers who are not unionized, and make sure they take up their issues on the bargaining chambers, on the shop floor, because at the end of the day, that's where unions prove their assault, is on the shop floor.
Well, thank you very much for speaking to us this evening, for your comment. That was Matthew Parks, Cosatu Parliamentary Coordinator. The essence there, workers' patience is wearing thin.